Hello everyone, welcome back to Cars and Coffee. There may not be many months left in the year, but there are certainly plenty of car shows, and this time it is GM month specifically as our central theme, but its show is stolen ever so slightly. But we'll get to that in just a little bit. In the meantime, we have the Japanese starting out. Not as many interesting ones, in my opinion, as last time. We've got a more normal sleek, I think it's the SX, but still an interesting one. Only you see the ST205. Then we've got the, obviously the Supers, Mark 3s, 4s, 5s are all present. But there was an unmodified Mark 4, which is very rare and very expensive these days. And of course, there was the tastefully modified ones like this Datsun 240Z has racing seats, but other than that, it looks pretty darn stock. And yeah, it was nothing wrong with the selection, but it was not nearly as interesting as other selections that will come later on from other nationalities. Which is why I'm talking about the Germans next, because they were very interesting. They had the usual, surprisingly identical color, M3, M4, and the exact same color. They're not very inspired, these Germans, they really aren't. But they do at least make good cars, and you can always get in a high visibility jacket yellow if you so choose for an older generation. So, while they may be lacking in certain originality, they do tend to go over the top, and I gotta respect that one. But the M3 race car with the aforementioned bright yellow M3, or the super sedan slash Avants. They're fantastic. Both the RS4 and the RS6 Avant were in attendance, and Porsche, being Porsche, was also in full swing, not only with the 911, but also with the more interesting ones like the 356 Speedster, or the 982 that was supposed to replace the 911. Spoiler alert, it didn't, but it's a V8, which is kind of awesome, and both the 50th anniversary 911 Targa and the 70th anniversary 911 Speedster. I initially walked by these thinking they were just another 911, but the Speedster looks damn good. Not so sold on the color, but the actual car itself looks really mint in Speedster form, and yet, my favorite Porsche wasn't technically a Porsche. It was a Singer. Yep, there was an actual 1991 Singer 911. I've not seen a Singer in ages. And yeah, it's always great to see the more niche, exclusive, custom hand-built, fabricated models on display. Speaking of hand-built, we have the British. Usually that means terrible quality, as if you're a Triumph fan. A great car. Surprised it kind of made it here. Same thing with Lotus. However, for a faster open top, you can get the McLaren 765 Longtail Spider. I gotta say, loving it in dark gray. It's very aggressive. Same thing with the Aston Martin Vantage. Fantastic color scheme for a fantastic car. I had not seen it in that color scheme, and I certainly prefer it to the new 2022 Vantage. They ruined the grille. But this one really caught my eye. This is a Rawson Q1, but not just any Rawson. It's a Q1R. It's the actual racing car. It's weird because it's an American car, but it's got noble M400 underpinnings, so I'm not really sure how to classify it. But it is great to see in all its exposed carbon fiber glory. It's more like a Ferrari F40 than a normal road car in that sense. It's very light with the exposed everything. It's always great to see a Rawson. Had never seen one before, and it provides us a nice transmission to the United States. With DeLorean and AMC, the fantastic wide-body AMX looks super aggressive. And yeah, you know me, I like taking pictures of different cars, even if the cars are objectively terrible, like Ford Pintos. Or, a less terrible, unique one, the Celine? Roush Stage 3, or a CCA Mustang race cars, always in good attendance. You can go with Ford-powered vehicles. The Superformance Shelby 427 Cobra is always super aggressive, or its spiritual successors, the Dodge Viper. There were actually quite a few Chrysler vehicles. I know this is a GM show, but they sort of nearly stole that show. In the American side, with all sorts of fantastic Chargers and Challengers, whether it be the Demon or the TA, or the Oldsmobile. I want to say it's the, Bellevue? I don't remember exactly the last name of it. Or the original Oldsmobile 442, and the later, not quite as good, Hearst Shifter. And we got our fair share of plinths, including the ultra-exclusive, executive, shall we say, sports car, the Sport Fury GT. Had to Google what the hell that thing was. But this is pretty special. It's an AAR Dan Gurney All-American Racing Barracuda. It's an actual AAR Barracuda. They only made about 1,000 of them, and they're super rare. But let's move on to Chevrolet. This is a GMC Cyclone. There were actually a lot. GM owns a lot of subsidiary companies, and there were a lot in attendance. So this is just the highlights of the rest, shall we say. So we had GMC with the Cyclone, Buick with this fantastically colored GS, Cadillac with all sorts of V models, whether it be the ATS V two-door coupe, or the old Corvette-powered CTS-V, or the new successor, the final internal combustion Cadillac, the CT5V Blackwing. But yeah, this was a Corvette and Camaro show in all of its full glory, so there was too many to count, to be honest, and not many that worth mentioning, to be honest. I do quite like the new Lingenfelter C8, though, with the supercharger on the back. Always a welcome sight to see the tuners show up. And race cars are always another huge plus. I like seeing them just because you don't really, well, you don't see them on the road at all. So when you can, it's always great. I love the look of this Camaro with the sort of gunmetal gray and the hilariously massive engine. It's almost up to the roofline. It must be at least 9 liters. It's not subtle, shall we say. I really liked the Camaros that showed up. The special ones, or even the late 90s ones and the 2000s, had fantastic, tasteful modifications, or in this case, a wrap to them. And the Corvair actually got a lot of love, too. Underrated car, for sure, the Corvair, ruined by Ralph Nader, unfortunately. But yeah, certainly in this sort of dark blue, it looks absolutely fantastic. And it wasn't just the Corvairs and the Corvettes and the Camaros, because there were Chevelles, there were Vegas, there was, I guess, the 396 and the 455 Chevelles, if you want to get really specific. There was an old cop car, the Impala PPV. Awesome seeing it in an actual full glory. I'm glad they were able to do that. New car that I saw, the Chevy Monza Spider. No, it's not a convertible, it's just the trim level with the V8. I don't know why they called it that, but they did. This is a car I've never seen before. It's a Pontiac Catalina Bobcat. It's got a 421 V8. It's like the sort of NHRA production car. It's awesome. Not as awesome as the GTO Judge, because the color scheme is amazing. But still, seeing the Bobcat there was something, I like having to Google cars, because I don't know about them, and I can expand my repertoire. But yeah, always great seeing a new vehicle. Same thing with the GTA spec Trans Am, and an actual Firehawk. There were 2 Firehawks. Here, this is just the first one I photographed. Very underrated car, the Firehawk. It's sort of a sleeper, because you think, oh, it's just a 4th gen, and then bam, it blitzes you off the line. Seriously underrated car. But we finish off with the Italians, the real showstoppers, because sure, the other cars are nice, and Lamborghini had some knockout swings with the Murcielago, and a phenomenal Lamborghini Countach 5000 QV. Yeah, remember how I said that there was a show stealer? It's the Italians, signed by Lamborghini. This is a fantastic looking car. I adore the Countach. Is it practical? No. Is it my favorite boxy Italian car? No. Because, yes, for the first time since 2019, my favorite car I've ever seen was at the show. The 1990 Lancia Delta HF Integrale 16 valve. 6-time World Rally Champion. It's the most successful rally car of all time. It's one of my favorite looking hatchbacks of all time. It is an absolute legend. It's my favorite car I've ever seen, and I've only seen it once, and this is my 2nd time seeing it. Oh, it just gives me the shivers. When I saw that, I made a beeline for it. It was so good to see. So yeah, this definitely by default makes it my favorite show of the year, simply because it had a Lancia. And any time I have a Lancia in a show, it's automatically the best. But don't forget about the Rossians and the AR Cudas and everything else, because this was a truly diverse and fantastic show. And although we're running out of nice days, We are not running out of nice cars.